Hola, everyone, and welcome to the DAZN Soccer Show, where we're having our own Spanish Inquisition. We're joined by DAZN's LaLiga señorita Semra Hunter and former Real Madrid and England centre-back Jonathan Woodgate. Let's dive straight into this one, people. I want to talk about Real Madrid, Semra. Top of the table, firing under Carlo Ancelotti. Why are they so good right now?
Oh, we all want to talk about Real Madrid, don't we? Yes, they absolutely are flying so far this season. It's 9 wins from 9 in all competitions. And quite honestly, there's a lot of reasons as to why they've been so successful in this early stage of the campaign. One, in no particular order, has to do with the physical fitness levels. They work with Antonio Pintos, who's one of the best fitness coaches around. They're in great shape. They're hardly picking up any injuries. Benzema aside, thankfully, it's nothing serious. He's only missed a few games. But overall, everyone is really fit and firing. Another thing is tactically, Carlo Ancelotti has been doing a really good job, not just in terms of setting the team up, but also reading the in-game management, knowing what needs to happen. His substitutions, his changes have been spot on, and every single time he's managed to sway the result in favor of Real Madrid to get the win whenever they needed it. Another thing is the introduction of some new players. Tchouaméni would be one of them, for example. We can talk about him later on, but the fact that he's taken to Real Madrid like a duck to water has been absolutely sensational in the absence of Casemiro. So you have players, younger players that are learning from the more experienced veteran players. They're gelling really well in the dressing room, I should say. Things are clicking. They're getting along really well. And on top of that, you have a fabulous manager in Carlo Ancelotti, somebody who knows how to really keep things calm, tranquillo, as they would say in Italy, and someone who really gets everybody rowing in the same direction, whether they're getting minutes or not. So you have everybody going in the same direction, playing some really good football overall. And they have a common goal here, and it's working exceptionally well for them.
Yeah, it certainly is working really well. Jonathan, look, you played for Los Blancos. Talk to us about that experience and just what it's like for playing for the biggest club in the world.
Well, it's an incredible experience, but what comes with playing for Real Madrid is pressure, and you need to win every single game. Even in the training sessions, you have to win. Players are losing, but to pull on that shirt is an incredible experience. And when you look how well they're doing now and what Carlo Ancelotti has done to this team, I mean, last season to win the Champions League and the comebacks they made against Man City, against PSG, against Chelsea, they were outstanding. But some of the signings this season, Tchouaméni has been, I mean, to replace Casemiro and the job that he's doing. I mean, in years to come, they'll have that three in midfield of Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde. And those three players will be looking up to Modric, to Kroos, to Benzema, and be looking at them and seeing what needs to be done to get to that level. And it looks like it's got a great blend of experience and youth at the minute.
Balance is definitely the word when it comes to Carlo Ancelotti. I think he has this great ability to marry tactical awareness with great man management skills. And he knows how to keep everybody happy. And it's really difficult to do. I'm sure Jonathan can tell us that whenever players are not playing, they want to play, and they're unhappy if they're not getting the minutes. And that is the case for a lot of the, let's say, second string players. But he's doing what he can to try and keep everybody on the same page and happy and getting as many minutes as they possibly can whenever they possibly can. I think he's one of the best man managers around. And I think that on top of that, he is someone who is really able to keep them mentally focused. And someone who's able to just say to them, listen, I don't need to do too much tinkering. You guys are elite level footballers. You know how to play the game. I don't really need to tell you what to do. Just go out there, have fun. And I know you'll come up with some kind of solution because they always do. And I think that's another aspect that goes back to your first original question. They are the real mentality monsters. I know that Jurgen Klopp loves to talk about that, use that expression, but Real Madrid are the ones that are probably stronger mentally than anybody else. And I think everybody knows that. They know that at some stage of the game, they will come up with a goal whenever they need it, especially in the latter stages of the game. They become experts at scoring the last 15 minutes or so, or even in extra time. And so I think just by virtue of knowing that somehow, some way, even if they're not playing well, they will come up with a goal, a solution, then eventually it's kind of like fulfilling their destiny. So it works out for them exceptionally well. And Carlo Ancelotti, I just think right now is probably one of the best managers around, doesn't get as much credit as he certainly deserves. And I think he kind of flies a little bit under the radar because he is so laid back and kind of has this calm approach to things.
Yeah, when you look at Ancelotti and the type of manager he is, he's an incredible man manager, and you'd love to play for him. Well, I would anyway. I'm sure most players are exactly the same as me. I was lucky enough to play under Bobby Robson at Newcastle, and he was exactly the same. He was that father figure within the group. All the players absolutely adored him. And it's those type of managers who have that man management experience and they're really good with the players. You want to play with them. I mean, I read recently about Carlo Ancelotti going to Rudiger's house, and he just moved to Madrid and spent 2 hours in his house just speaking to him and his family. Ended up having a barbecue with him, probably a couple of glasses of water or sangria or whatever they were having. But those type of managers are brilliant, and what a job Carlo Ancelotti's doing at the minute.
All right, let's switch our attention to Barcelona, who've had a fantastic start to the season as well. But before we focus on what's good for them on the field, off the field, it's been very, very strange for Barcelona because we're led to believe that they're in crippling debt, right? They're having to pull so many different levers to keep the club afloat. But there has been a recent report that Barcelona will forecast a profit this season of 274 million.
Right. So how much time do we have? Because this could take a really long time to explain. I'll try to give you a very short summary of their situation. The previous board basically incurred 1.5 billion euros in debt, around that number. So what Barcelona have needed now is liquidity. They need liquid cash to pay off their debt, but also try and make the team competitive once again in order to make the signings that they made during the summer. So you've referenced those levers. They pulled 4 of them. So in short, what they did was mortgage off the future of the club. So they sold off licensing and merchandising. They sold off parts of their TV rights. And the hope is that by bringing in, they injected something like 800 million euros. By doing so, they can start to slowly pay off those debts. I think they have to pay about 300 million, something like that in the next 12 months. And on top of that, they've also lowered wages for particular players. They've been getting some of the players off the books. So they've been doing all kinds of things to try and put this huge puzzle together in terms of getting as much money as they possibly can now to stay afloat, but also trying to help them regenerate themselves as a competitive side to compete amongst the elite, to get themselves back kind of up there with everybody else as a way of trying to continue generating income. So by doing so, for example, the higher you finish in the league, more money you get. By going further in the Champions League, the more money you get. Now, all of a sudden, after the pandemic, they have they have fans coming back to the stadium on a regular basis. They're filling up the stadium, which is something that didn't happen last season. On top of that, the stores are open again. The museum is open again. It's the second most popular museum in Spain. So they generate a lot of income with people coming to visit the ground. So they're trying to get as much money as they possibly can to basically create the snowball effect by having a more competitive outfit on the pitch. It will bring results. It will generate more popularity, and so on and so on. It's a huge gamble. It's a huge risk. There's no guarantee that this is going to work. If it does, we'll look back on this period and say Joan Laporta was a genius, pulled off a masterstroke here. But if it doesn't work, then we'll have to see what those kinds of consequences could be. This could be a case where the club eventually has to be sold to a billionaire, an oligarch, or somebody can come in and actually inject money of their own to save the club because they could find themselves in bankruptcy.
Off the pitch, it's still question marks. Semra obviously answered a lot of those questions there. On the pitch, though, Xavi's been able to put together probably the best Barcelona squad we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. At least some new signings that are coming in. Rafinha, as you would know from Leeds, Jules Koundé's come in, Lewandowski's come in. How would you assess what they're doing on the pitch so far?
Really good. Really good. It's going to be tough for them to get near Madrid this season, but they have done well. I mean, with the sign of Lewandowski, I mean, he's one of the best scorers in European football. He's an outstanding talent and still doing it now at his age in the LaLiga, different league. He seems to have settled in well. I always thought Rafinha would go to Barcelona. He's that type of player. I think he's so difficult to play against. He's 100% energy and he's settled in well. What Xavi might find a bit difficult is when later on in the season, where he's getting more plates to spin and there's more things happening off the pitch that he can't really control. I think that might be later on in the season. They might struggle with it. But at the minute, he's done an outstanding job and all the new signings have done well.
Yeah, look, it's great to see Barcelona back to where Barcelona need to be. And I think football's just in a better place when Barcelona are one of the best teams in the world. And I think Xavi's going to make them be that in the next couple of years. Semra, look, we have to ask you what's going on with the Spanish women's team. It's a crazy story that's been sort of put out there in the last few days that 15 sort of Spanish lady footballers have resigned from the national team. What is going on? Fill us in.
So the first thing to say is that this was meant to be a private matter, and those 15 players that you referenced are really quite upset that the federation has decided to take this public. The other thing is there's been a lot of fake news that have been leaked, and that has been confirmed by the players themselves. Alexia Putellas is one of them. She's the captain, she's a Ballon d'Or winner, she's the best player in football right now in the women's game. She's out with a long-term injury. She's going to miss the whole season. But in any case, she's one of those 15 that have come out and said, to be clear, they haven't resigned, by the way. So what they have done is said, basically, they're not happy with the training methods, with the way that the training sessions are being run. It's affecting their mental health. It's affecting their overall well-being. And what they want is more professional methods, especially as it comes to serious injuries. And so a lot of information has been coming out saying that they've been asking for the manager to be sacked, for the coach to be sacked. That's not true. The information coming out saying that these players have resigned, that's also not true. What they said is they want to provide constructive criticism as a way of trying to make things better for the future. Because you have to remember, they've qualified for the World Cup, which is next summer. So it's like 8 months away. And they're saying, why on earth will we put ourselves in this position when we have a World Cup? Every player wants to play in that competition. Why would we put our careers at risk by coming and doing this if all we're trying to do and ask for is better working conditions, basically? They weren't asking for anything else. And so the federation have responded quite badly. They've actually come out very publicly and saying that they're making all these kinds of demands of footballers and so on, and that they're only going to let them back if they ask for forgiveness and they admit that they've made a mistake and that they don't have the right to determine who should be the coach and so on. But the players have said, well, we're not asking for that. We're not asking for you to change the manner. We're asking you to change the methods. And so right now it seems as though there's a bit of a standoff because the federation have said we can penalize these players by not allowing them to come back for the next 2 to 5 years if we don't want to. But by the way, we're not going to behave like that. We'll just not call them up. And the players themselves are saying, well, okay, fine. We're asking you not to call us up until things get better.
Another crazy week in Spanish football. Semra, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for your insight, Jonathan. Great to hear from you as well. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the action in Liga F exclusively live on DAZN.
Hay pasos que duran un segundo y otros que duran toda una vida. Hay pasos que escriben historias, que abren caminos, que inspiran a otras generaciones. Hay pasos en falso, que duelen, que lastiman, que te hacen perder la esperanza. Pero también hay otros pasos que acompañan, en las buenas y en las no tan buenas. Pasos que hacen ilusión, que se ponen la camiseta, que quedan para el recuerdo. Son pasos llenos de fuerza, fe, fuego, fallos, fouls, fair play, fintas, fantasía, flow, fútbol, fans, familia, futuro, finales, fiesta. Grandes pasos que ayudaron a escribir esta historia. Bienvenidos a la primera liga profesional de fútbol femenino. La de los fans, la de la fuerza, la del fair play, la de las futbolistas, la femenina. Liga F. Sin F, el fútbol no se escribe igual.